Good evening, then, and welcome to another stream from Fantasy Football Scout. You have the pleasure, I say pleasure loosely, of a company of myself, El Fozzie, and the lovely Sam Bonfield this evening. And we are going to talk through the latest explosion of prices that's happened today and get our heads around what's going on. I'm hoping you can hear me okay. It'd be good if you could say, just somebody in the stream could just let us know that you can hear the audio is okay, because like I'm just getting back into doing this and I'm quite good on spaces, but this I'm not so good. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me, Sam?
I can hear you.
Can you hear Sam? Are we okay? Thumbs up would be good. No, nothing. So usually people are complaining if it's not right. So I guess people are just starting to join now. So fair enough. Cool.
I'll keep an eye on the live
All
chat.
right, I thought that was useful. My wife's watching YouTube. Sounds like you. Cool. Audio's fine. Thank you so much, guys. It's a bit of a delay here. So anyway, welcome again to this the evening stream. I'm going to do my best not to mess it up, but I can't promise. So we've had a lot going on. We'll talk about yesterday's a bit. In case you missed all of yesterday, what were you doing? What have you got that's more important than checking out fantasy football's prices? We had, obviously, it all kicked off with Haaland's huge price, and we suddenly thought, my God, we're going to need a bigger budget to get around the 15 million mark. It really did get everybody chatting on Twitter, which I thought was great. And then we went through, some up and down prices. Some people thought a few things were a bit too cheap, some thought a bit expensive, but it was a good first. There was, how many prices went? 20 yesterday? It was one for each
20,
team.
one per
Yes.
club.
One
that's
per
right.
club. So now we're starting to we're in day 2, and we're going to start to see more clubs. So let's have a look at the ones that I think dropped today, starting with Aston Villa. There wasn't the way order it came in, but that's the order I put it on my stream. So that's the way we can talk about it. Sam, Villa. So who do we have yesterday? Who do we have for Villa yesterday? It was Watkins, of course. Watkins at 9 million, of course, which is a really, really good price, and he's already in my team. And then we had today Maatsen. Yeah, my team's got everyone in it. It's an amazing
You've got
team.
everyone. I don't know how you managed it.
I've got 105 million, no subs yet. It's fine. I've got Maatsen at 5 million, Bailey at 6.5, and then we have Martinez at 5. My eyes are really bad. I can't look at this. Can you read?
It's John McGinn at 5.5 and Konza at 4.5.
I'm trying to look at this on a small screen. I'm going to have to make the OBS screen bigger. I'm getting to that point in my life. I get my bifocals on. But yeah, so what do we think of those prices? And not my ability. That's better. I've made them a bit bigger. What do we think of those prices, Sam? Anything stand out there?
I mean, so there was a couple that stood out for me. The first one was Maatsen. I think, they've only just bought him. He's arriving at the club new. Surely he's coming in as first choice. And if he's coming in at first choice at 5 million in the position that he's going to play in a very, very attacking Aston Villa team, as we've seen, like part of our issue last season was like, who is it going to be in that position? You've got plenty of rotation potential there with Moreno, with Digne, all of that good stuff. I think Maatsen is a really, really nice price. And if we see him regularly starting in pre-season, I really like him at this price point. I also think that if you want to go slightly cheaper, because, Chris, if you're going to have all these really expensive players that you want to have.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sam. I've just used the players that are there.
Well, so far you wanted Haaland, you've wanted Palmer, you've wanted Salah.
I did, when I posted my draft online earlier, I did forget that I wanted Salah. So I actually have, how much have I got left? I've got like 30 million left for the 4 extra players.
No, you've got 9. When you added Salah in, you then had 9 million left.
I've got 9, that's
4
fine.
players.
9 million left. That's right. I can do that.
But I think if you want to go for a cheaper option, then Konza at 4.5 looks really nice.
What do you know about Maatsen? I must admit, I'm coming to this quite cold with Maatsen. There's a Dutch chap, right? Was he the chap that hasn't really played in the Euros? Is that right, or have I got it completely wrong?
Yeah. But I think he'll be a really interesting pick in that Villa team, because the way that Villa like to set up, they're very attacking under Unai Emery. Like, they are a really attacking unit that uses those kind of wing-backy positions really effectively. So for me, when I saw his price, I was like, that's really piqued my interest, because a lot of the time, the Villa defenders, the ones that you go for, are the more steady centre-backs, the likes of Konza. But they don't then have that attacking threat. I mean, they have some attacking threat particularly from set pieces, which actually Villa traditionally have been quite good at. But they don't have that natural aggressive attack into the box, and you don't see the flores as much as you would with somebody like Maatsen.
He was great.
You do, but we had a lot of rotation with Digne last time around with Moreno.
I know a lot about Digne. He gets one incredible assist and then does nothing for the next 80
and has been quite frustrating to own the Villa wing backs because you haven't really ever known which one of them is going to start. So if Maatsen comes in and is actually going to be their regular starter, which you would think he would be, given that they've gone out in the market and bought him, I think it's a really, really nice price because in reality, if you do want to have Haaland and you want to have Salah and you want to have Palmer, and maybe when we see the prices for the likes of Saka and Son and guys like that we haven't seen yet, you're going to have to find value. And there's been a lot today of the nice, cheap 4.4, 4.0, 4.5 defenders. There's a lot of them available. But I don't think you want to go into a game where that's all you have in your defence because you've got nowhere to go then. It's really difficult to move around if you don't have anyone in the other price points. So having somebody in at 5 feels like a strategy that I want to deploy. And Aston Villa traditionally have been a team that I like investing in. So, for me, I really like the idea of Maatsen.
No, it's good. Maatsen's good. I mean, obviously, Konsa, England, did a great job for England. Obviously, he was replaced again by Guehi, but who's also we'll be talking about today. Yeah, it's interesting they've priced even international sort of finals, Euro finalists. Fingers crossed. Centre defenders at that price. I mean, it does suggest that they're looking to trying to make the centre backs more attractive in the game. That's what it feels like. And of the rest, there, I know what we want, but Bailey, is that we said yesterday when we were talking about prices that 6.5 is kind of the difficult price because you're either when you're either looking for a 5 or 5.5 to sort of to enable, or if you're going 8 plus, then that's someone you really want. And where 6.5 just kind of is not, it's just an awkward price, and especially as you said with those premium prices we've seen so far. So yeah, I don't know. Is Bailey attracted to you at all, or McGinn at 5.5? I mean,
I absolutely love Leon Bailey. I think he's a fantastic player. And when I watch him play, he's really exciting, I think, and could be a brilliant FPL player. But the issue with Leon Bailey has been injuries, a bit like in Nkunku. I'm not surprised to see them priced the same because they both had big injuries that have disrupted their season last year. Had that not happened, I think we'd have seen more consistency with Leon Bailey in terms of starts. Like, I think he would have been an important player in Emery's team. And at 6.5, I do like that price. But I do think that we need to be a bit mindful of the injuries. And we also need to think about, and a bit like with Nkunku, you need to kind of weigh him up against who else you might have from the Villa attack. So at 9 million for Ollie Watkins, if you're going to have him, then I don't think you're going to spend 6.5 on having Leon Bailey. But if you are going to go without Watkins and Bailey stays fit, then I think Bailey's exactly the sort of player that you could try and have in there because they will work nicely together and you could end up with some good FPL points on the back of that for less money than you'd have to spend on Watkins.
No, fair enough. That's good. And then finally, Martinez. I mean, with goalkeepers so far, we've got. I think we've seen mainly 5 million yesterday, and then another 5 million today. So nothing. I guess it's just going to be pick your poison, right? In terms of fixtures and stuff, which we'll come on to in a bit. We can talk fixtures at any point. You want to talk fixtures? I can switch to fixture ticket. Let me know. But yeah, I think Martinez 5 seems kind of fair. But there'll be a lot of. There'll be a lot of keepers at 5, I think.
We saw Flecken today, didn't we, at 4.5?
Yes, we'll come on to that bit. But yeah, we saw Flecken 4.5. But so yeah, I guess it's going to come to. It's probably the last thing you come to the keeper in a little way, and see what you've got left. I think I'll have about 1.5 left for my keeper. So I think that's going to be. And
of course, we also had Areola today as well in that West Ham announcement that's come out recently. So I think for me, Martinez always feels like an attractive option because you do know what you're going to get with him. He often racks up the points, particularly in terms of like save points, bonus points, that kind of stuff. And so could be a good option. But the problem is, I think you're exactly right. I think like last season, we looked at the premium goalies, the Allisons and the Edisons at 5.5, and we basically said they were a no-go because you had so many good options in the 5 and the 4.5 bracket. This year, I think we're going to be looking at the 5 million goalkeepers and going, or that's really hard to have them because of the money you want to spend elsewhere across your squad. And if we've got the likes of Flecken and Areola sitting at 4.5, you can afford to have, I mean, they don't rotate that nicely, those two, but there are plenty of clubs out there that do have really nice rotating fixtures. So you can get a nice rotating pair going at 4.5. I think Martinez will quickly be overlooked, but maybe that's not the right thing to do.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to another team that revealed. In between each, you're going to see that we are plugging our members offer here. This is in the background. So yes, talking of price reveals, this is the best price reveal. We're 40% off. We're staying 40% off for our incredible premium service, which has all the good stuff you need in terms of data, exclusive articles, tools, comparison tools. I don't know what else we've got. Loads of stuff. New stuff
and an app coming very soon.
We've been asked about the app already. The app will be out. Someone asked about the app being out. The app will be out. We'd say realistically a few days after the game goes live, whenever that is. I don't know. But because
we need the game.
We need the game live just to sanity check some of the feeds and stuff. But then it will be. It's sort of in submission with the stores and stuff, so yeah, it'll be there. So look forward to the tech support for that coming soon. There we go, that's coming out. But the 40% off right now. It will go up at some point. I think we held it until England win the Euros, so could be another 4 years. Moving on, Brentford came out today, and they did. And what I like about the way this has happened is everyone's slightly tweaked the format. And a few teams have kept with it, and everyone else has just widened it. Or Crystal Palace went completely their own way with a completely different design. But this is, they've made a little bit of space. I think it's for Thiago's beard. I think that's what they've done. They've needed the space, a little bit of extra space for the beard, so they've made his picture a bit wider. What do we think? Apart from the lovely beard, what are we thinking about Brentford here?
First of all, the Flecken price, before we talk about Thiago, okay. I really like the Flecken price. I think coming in at 4.5, which is where I expected him to be, I would have been very surprised had they put him up in price. I think like last season, we weren't really sure what we were doing with Brentford, were we, in terms of the goalie, because obviously you had the Raya situation playing out, and it was kind of like, well, where do you go? What do you do? Is it going to have a massive impact on the defence not having him there? And it did, really. The Brentford defence wasn't great for a lot of last season, but he could be part of a really nice pair of rotating goalkeepers now that we know that he's their number one. I think it will be interesting to see what they do in terms of the defence, because obviously they got better towards the back end of the season defensively, but that was in part when they had some players there on loan, and so we need to see players coming back. We need to see what they do in terms of strengthening in the window. But I quite like Flecken as a rotating pair of goalkeepers in at 4.5.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Maybe this is a good time to look at
Flecken. I had Flecken. I was a big Raya owner previously, and I went to Flecken last year. It wasn't quite the same. It wasn't quite the same performances in the same team, obviously. So, Raya was great for me the season before, but yeah, Flecken, good goalkeeper. Obviously, Brentford underperformed a bit, partly through to assets missing and injuries and what have you. So
the first 10 game weeks, you can rotate Flecken really nicely with the Southampton goalkeeper. They rotate really nicely. You don't have any red fixtures then at all. They're all really nice.
And we haven't had Southampton goalkeeper price yet, or did we have that yesterday? I didn't see that.
No, we haven't seen that yet. So, but newly promoted goalkeepers are never.
They're going to be 4.5, right?
When you think about like when Brentford play Liverpool, Southampton have got Nottingham Forest. When Southampton have got Arsenal, Man City, Brentford have got Wolves and Ipswich. So they actually rotate really quite nicely. So you could go for a cheaper pair of rotatings there if you wanted to.
Cool. And anybody else that stands out for you? I mean, me. Again, another 4.5 million sort of centre back. I mean, he does get the odd goal, doesn't he? He does pop up in the box occasionally. But like, are you tempted at all by Brentford? You're saying keeper. That's where you're going with Brentford defence. If you're looking at it, is it?
I think so. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of really nice 4 million, 4.5 million defenders already. And as I said earlier, I think you will want to have a 5.5, a 6 million defender as well. So realistically, you're looking at 3 defender spots that we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of them's 100% going to be a 4 million defender because it's going to have to be. One of them's probably going to be Davis. So that leaves you with one other 4.5 million defender. And I think that there are going to be better options than Ben Mee, particularly because you can have Flecken in goal.
Moving on to the guy with the beard, we've got some love for the beard. Thanks for that, Nuclear Atoms. Who is and respect the beard. I like that coming in from Giuseppe. I believe that has lots of threes and a K. Apparently, and also actually more useful advice other than Michael's beard is that Igor Thiago looks great from game weeks 6 to 13, 0.68 xG. For Club Brugge in the league last season.
Yeah, he was good for Club Brugge last season. He got 18 goals and 3 assists for them in the Belgium top division last time around. And obviously that compares with Vissa, who he had here, who got 12 goals and 4 assists last time. He had his best ever fantasy season last year. But the elephant in the room here
is Toney, isn't it?
Is Toney. And so obviously, like, I don't think Brentford go and buy Thiago if they're expecting Toney to stay.
Yeah, the noises off suggest he's going to go, but then someone's got to pay the money, haven't they? And it's quite, they're wanting a big fee, and rightly so. Do you know what his contract situation is? I know this is probably not what, but is he not in his last year? Is he? I think he's got.
I don't know actually how long Toney's got left. I'll Google it. I'm not sure.
The thing is with Toney, I think, you know, obviously Brentford have sort of stood by him, not that they had much choice, I guess, and whilst, you know,
it expires next summer. Even Toney's contract.
All right.
Yeah. So they will want to sell him summer 25.
So he's likely gonna, if he wants to go, they're gonna want the money. He's likely to go, but he is 7.5, of course. So if he does stay, or even if he goes somewhere else, I mean, we were talking about him. We were very excited about him yesterday. Toney's a very good asset at 7.5. There's some really nice forward assets actually in the game. We've actually got, if you want, we've actually created a. We had it from last season's price list, which is still knocking around. You can access, and we've created a rolling price list for the prices that have been released so far. So, if you're a free member, which anybody can be, if you're not a free member, go and sign up. You're free. You can chat on the site and get a few other things. One of the things you can get right now is a list of all the players' prices that have been released in a kind of sortable format, so you can kind of compare start building your team mentally. Not we haven't got another month to do it, right? But yeah. But that exists now, so I can compare the prices. I can see there's quite a few nice forward players. Cool. Let's move on. Let's keep on a fair lick. There we go. Reminder, it's 40% off. Still 40% off all the time. I've also got to do, actually, what this does remind me, if you listen to this on the podcast, which we've got very, very popular podcast, so thank you, you are listening to us, please do remember to click the automatic download button. You have to do that now, because Apple, bless them, have turned something off, and you've got to turn it back on. So turn it back on. That'll teach them. And then also do give us a review if you quite like the podcast and all that stuff. So we're doing our best, and we'll have a lot of content, podcasts, audio directs from the video, and also from some spaces, which I'm quite enjoying doing the spaces. Did a lot during the Euros. Got a bit mental, spaces, Euros. Anyway, enough of that, and on to Chelsea. We had obviously chilly. Ooh, it's getting a bit chilly in here. That price isn't chilly. That price is flipping hot, isn't it? 10.5 million. You were teasing me yesterday. You were teasing me because you had an inkling. Because you said yesterday, how much would you take Palmer for? And I said, would you take him at 7? Obviously, 8, yeah, 9, of course. 10, probably. 10.5. I was like, what is this game? And obviously they've come in with 10.5. And that is more than I expected. I wasn't expecting 10.5. He obviously was top scorer in the game, so it was expected he'd rise, but that's the biggest rise in FPL history. 5.5 million it's gone up, isn't it? So he's over doubled in price.
Yeah. So, I think for me, I said on the final FPL pod, when we did our season review pod back in May, Jules and Kelly and I did some predictions of what we thought players would be. And we started, I think, with Cole Palmer. And I remember saying to them, I think he'll be 10. I think he'll be 10. I think he has to be 10. He's the highest player in the game. He had a phenomenal season. He was priced at a point where he was going to sit on the Man City bench. He wasn't, priced as the Chelsea starting player, basically the only player that was decent in the Chelsea team for most of last season and on penalties. That wasn't how he was priced in the game. When you look at the other players in the game from last season and how they were priced for the kind of position that Cole Palmer was in, and with penalties. So Son's a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
When you look at players like Son or maybe Saka, he had to go in that kind of ballpark area. And so for me, 10 was I would have been happier with 9.5, but 10 was where I was kind of thinking he'll probably put him.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, Nuclear Atoms is right. When we were doing this game, Jules was going, I'll be 8. And I was going, he won't be 8. Like, there's no chance they're going to price him at 8.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the 10.5, I was like, I'm a bit hurt because it's harder to own him. But equally, I'm not surprised because he deserved the rise that he got in reality.
It's the same game as with Haaland, isn't it? It's big player. I think one of the things I'm not in FPL towers all the time, not since the incident. They don't let me in. But no, they oh sorry. We're not talking about. I'm sorry. I know the lawyers have told us don't mention it.
Oh my god! Why do you make these weird jokes?
I don't know. I'm old. Anyway, it's like dad jokes. But that I think what FPL doesn't want, either us or the game itself or the Premier League, they don't want another season of everybody owning Haaland. Like that was, I think that took a lot of the joy from captaincy differentials, from picks. Because not only, even if you didn't want to own Haaland, you kind of felt you had to. And I think maybe there's a bit of a fear that it might have been everyone owns Palmer. And it might still be that everyone owns Palmer because, a lot of people coming in will go, who's the best top scoring player last, who's come on and done a bit for England. Well, we'll get him in. It's interesting that Watkins was only 9 after that. I can imagine there's a few people being swayed by that. I guess we'll see what happens on Sunday night. But yeah, I think it's a good move. And yeah, as I say, it's been kind of selective. This kind of boost has been very selective. It's not every player, because when we first saw Haaland, it was like, oh my god, it's just going to be really hard. But they're just picking a few players. I think the pricing's been very good so far.
I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, Palmer was so phenomenal last season, and his ownership never really got stupid high, but that's because he didn't start performing until game week 7. And by the time he was really phenomenal, we were at the point of the game where some teams were, as we refer to, as dead teams. So obviously Palmer was never going to be in those teams. Had Palmer going into this season, I think we could have ended up in a situation like we had last season where Haaland was owned by like 92% of the game, which, to be honest,
it's rubbish. It just
ruins
means
it.
that you can't go, because it also, people don't go, even if he's not played, you don't go against him because of fear. It's like, well, when you look at like live FPL and you see the expected ownership, and if you've got him but you haven't captained him, you're already losing points. It's crazy. And obviously, Haaland is that player like Palmer, capable of big hauls. I was, as an Everton fan, I had the pleasure, as some of my selection of shirts there. I had the pleasure of being at Stamford Bridge, witnessing his 4 goals.
Was it a pleasure?
Tom. Thanks again, Tom, for that ticket. I will never forget. I took my son, who is a Chelsea fan, knows nothing, obviously. And yeah, I had the pleasure of seeing his kind of 4-goal haul, which was great. Sitting amongst Chelsea fans, clapping politely. Towards the end, I didn't even bother standing. I stood up the first couple. After that, I was like, I'm just going to sit down now.
I love that.
It was good, but yeah, no, he was. Yeah, no, it was. What was I going to say? I think it's a good move. So let's talk about the players here. So,
but my big concern about this, Chelsea, so I'm looking at Chelsea. I'm thinking Palmer's great. We saw Nkunku yesterday. I'm thinking he's great. I don't understand why Sterling is 0.5 more. I don't think anyone would have Sterling over Nkunku, but that's just a me thing, maybe. Reece James has trolled me more times than I can remember in FPL, and obviously suspended for the opening 2 weeks, I think, anyway, so you wouldn't be having him straight away. And at 5 million, maybe you might go there eventually if he starts playing well. But my big issue with Chelsea is the new manager, because we don't know enough yet. Like, towards the back end of last season, from January onwards, as we were saying with Tom yesterday, Chelsea were good in the Premier League, and they wouldn't have been anywhere near where they were in the league had they played like that all season. But they've got this new manager now who's coming in and starting again effectively. So I worry that we might see another slow start. It's a very rare situation with
Chelsea, because usually rock solid year in, year out, exactly. Tom loves it when I mock them. It is ridiculous. I'm amazed they did that. I mean, I'm not amazed they did that based on the history, because that used to be the Abramovich model, which, you've won the European Cup, doesn't matter. Did you finish 7th of the year out then? But you thought the new ownership was going to bring a bit more of a stability in, but they've been through My God, they're going through managers, aren't they?
Well, they're worse, actually. They're worse than they were under Mourinho in terms of
I thought he was just looking to get it right.
Under Abramovich.
It felt like he was just getting it right. You know, it
He
was all over the
yeah.
place at the start of the season, and he's just looking to get that right. You know, Palmer and Gallagher were combining well. Jackson was sort of playing into it a bit more. You know, obviously he'd had his defence out most, and he's still having to modify that. I thought it was an incredibly poor decision.
Lost Nkunku for most of the season. Lost Reece James and Chilwell for most. Like, it was. My personal opinion is that they should have given Poch more time, and we said this with Tom when we were away with him a few weeks ago. Like, my understanding is in part it was done because his contract was ending before they play in the Club World Cup next summer, and they would have then not had a manager in place for that, or they'd had to appoint somebody, or they'd had to extend the contract. So it was kind of either, well, do we extend the contract now, or do we find somebody new? And they got this thing, didn't they, about wanting a new, younger manager or whatever it was that we were hearing about rumours from. I just don't know with Chelsea. Palmer, I think, is a player that I will have because he was phenomenal. He's on penalties. We've seen what he's done for England over the last few weeks when he's come on in a team that's been, you know, quite static and not moving around a lot. He's come on and made a world of difference. So I'll be going with him. But the rest of Chelsea feel like they're going to be a little bit wait and see, unless they have a really good pre-season. Unless we see them do really well in pre-season, then I think there's some really nice value picks in the Chelsea team. But I think we just have to wait and see how they play under the new manager when they start playing pre-season matches.
No, fair enough. So going through his picks quickly, Sterling, you've expressed general mareness about, which I think is a bit harsh. I mean, 7. Sterling,
would you pay more for him than Nkunku?
What's that? You
wouldn't pay more for him than Nkunku, though, would you?
Well, I mean, it depends where Nkunku's, you know, if he's playing, obviously, I'll pay for someone for playing. I mean, Sterling had a couple of good games. It hasn't really happened for him, has it, recently? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I probably would have Nkunku over him, absolutely. But I'm going to have a few Chelsea assets, definitely. Apart from after game 1, their fixtures look. They've got City first, haven't they? But after that, they've got a really good list of fixtures. I'm trying to get all these different things up to talk about in different windows. So, and then James.
He 100%
at
doesn't
5. That
he's
feels
going to
like
drop.
a very tempting price, doesn't it?
I bet you he's another one that's going to drop in price because people will get him, then he'll be suspended, and then people will not realise or whatever, and then he will. I suspect that he'll be 4.9, 4.8 a few game weeks in, and then we'll be able to get on him then if you want to. But I just find Chelsea really, really hard. Like, Reece James has the potential at 5 million to be a game changer for us as FPL managers. The attacking threat that he has, his ability to control the defence and make Chelsea's defence solid, it's all there. It's just, 1, will he stay fit?
Yeah.
And 2, what kind of system and what kind of personnel is the new manager going to play? And until we see that, it's quite difficult.
I tell you who has looked. I was saying the other day, I think Cucurella's looked really good in for Spain.
He's been phenomenal for Spain,
Dewsbury Hall, I don't know. Like, I'm not. That 6 seems a very odd price as well. Not really. Don't know.
It's neither here nor there, that price, isn't it?
Not too many. I think that's probably let's leave it there. And Jackson's gonna be the interesting punt. I know Tom's a massive Jackson fan, and and he's he is one of those sort of players that can sort of delight and, you know, dismay in within 5 minutes, right? He isn't really a natural forward. He's been pushed into centre forward like a lot of players he's done in the Premier League, but he looks like a good forward player. He's got a good, you know, he's got a bit of pace, he's got some good control. In front of the box, his instincts don't always seem the best, but I don't know.
No.
I'm thinking Palmer, and maybe it is going to be Nkunku. I guess that's what you're going to be deciding. Is like, if Nkunku is playing
2 Chelsea midfielders though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not...
in the game. That's a lot.
I think for that run, yeah, I know. I think for that run though, I can't not get Palmer. I think for that run after the,
you definitely can't not get Palmer. No,
fair enough.
I think you want him.
We'll move on. Can't not get Palmer. That's a double negative by me. Yeah,
double negative.
Right. Somebody in the chat. Sorry, we've been blathering on. I will look at the chat in a second. Someone was talking about how they want to see the Palace prices and talk about them. And like I've look how badly I put that on top of the graphic. It doesn't go very nicely, but that is because Crystal Palace just decided to go their own way with a completely different format. Thanks,
well,
Crystal Palace.
They didn't. No, it's the right graphic. Crystal Palace cheeky monkeys, if you click on it, it takes you to their website.
Does
Unlike all the others. Yeah. They're marketing genius at Crystal Palace, to be fair, because everyone was going to their website, even if you're not a Palace fan. You click on the graphic, off you go off to the Crystal Palace website.
I like it.
Clever.
So,
Clever sausages they are.
we had Mateta yesterday. I can't remember the price now. I've got to look at it again. How much he was at? He was at 7.5?
7.5? Yeah, 7.5.
7.5. Which is very attractive, I think. You know, if we've got the Palace that we ended the season with and the Mateta we ended the season with. The problem is we've already got a Lace off and we've got Eze here now at 7. Is he going to be there at 7, do you think? Are we, you know, I think Palace with Elise and Eze and Palace without Elise and Eze are very different teams, right?
Yeah, but we said that about Palace without Zaha last season.
That is true. And
but
then we already had Eze and, you know, Elise were kind of, you know, when Zaha was fading off and off to Turkey or whatever. Yeah, we already had those guys coming in, and they've kind of grown into that. I mean, they've been brilliant. Like they're so exciting to watch, both of them. You know, I hope Eze gets a bit more time. You know, I mean, he's probably in the final. It's not going to be a chance he's going to get a run out. But you know, I think when I saw him playing for England, I think it was against Bosnia. You know, he's exciting. And obviously for Palace, he's a very exciting player running. So yeah, but if Eze stays at Palace at 7, you interested?
Yeah. I'm to be honest, I'm interested in Eze as long as he stays in the Premier League. Wherever he ended up, I'd be interested. I was hoping that Eze was going to come to Spurs this summer, but I can't.
Still do. You've got a lot of summer.
And he might. Yeah, he might. But I just can't believe that they would sell both Elise and Eze in this one window.
A big. You're just cutting off that, you know.
I think so. I just can't see it. I can't see them both going. But I like the 7 million price tag. It's put me off Mateta, to be honest.
Yeah.
The 7 here, because Mateta, I was thinking, yeah, that feels nice. I mean, for a lot of last season, I had Haaland, Watkins, and Mateta as my front three, and I really enjoyed that. And I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I might end up in the same position again. I'm gonna have to spend a lot more money on it, and that might mean sacrifices elsewhere. But maybe that's where I'll be. And then when this Eze price dropped, I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting because we know that Eze takes the penalties and Mateta doesn't. So that's a tick in the Eze box anyway. And it would mean, like, Eze often is the one that will pick up the bonus points unless Mateta gets his hat trick like he did, you know, the other week.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, Eze is the bonus point magnet there.
Yeah. But what is he like on ball recoveries, Sam?
I don't think they're bringing in ball recoveries. The centre backs would be more expensive.
No, the fact I think that pretty much has confirmed that rumour's not going to be.
I think so.
The fact that all the centre backs, like here, Guy,
to
good segue,
be fair,
is 4.5. Guy is the ball recovery master of the Euros.
100%.
So you know they're not pricing him at that price. If we're suddenly going to have a whole new metric where centre backs can pick up a ton of points, I don't think. I would like them to bring it in. Maybe they bring it into, like, maybe it's in something like Challenge. They try it out in that or something like that. That might be the opportunity. But yeah, what do you think about Guy? I mean, fantastic in the Euros. Palace is starting 6. They've got Brentford away, West Ham, Chelsea away, Leicester at home, United at home, and Everton away. So you know, a mixed bag of some, you know, some nice fixtures and a few tougher ones. Would you be interested in Guy defenders? 4.5 seems a nice price.
Yeah, I would. And you know, if you roll the ticker forward for 10 weeks, they sit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th on the ticker. So you know, in the right ballpark. I think
that now, yeah.
When you look at them in comparison,
you know who's top of the ticker if you go for 10 weeks, though, don't you?
I do, Chris. That's part of the reason I had them at 10 weeks, because I knew you'd have a look and go, oh, but Everton are top if you roll it for 10 weeks.
We haven't had any Everton prices, but you know,
not yet. I think with Palace, you've got to look for the kind of the teams that they would rotate well with, because at 4.5, that's what you're looking for. So I think you want a pair. My personal view, on the prices so far, is you need a pair of 4.5 defenders. I think the obvious choice is Davis, who we saw priced yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just picking another one. And I like the way that the Palace fixtures are, because mostly you're going to play three defenders. So two of your defenders are going to be on the bench constantly anyway. And I think you could then rotate Gahey in and out really nicely. So yes, in the opening 10 weeks, they play Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs. But they also have some really nice fixtures against teams like Wolves and Nottingham Forest and Leicester and Everton.
There you go.
So,
I put the ticker up for the first 6 up on the thing. Obviously, you can't sort it. You can see that on the site, but you can't sort it. If you want to sort it, you've got to get the premium members. But yeah, no, as you say, that's I think it's instructive as well with the ticker looking, because people are arguing about Chelsea fixtures. Who was it? It was I'm not ignoring the chat. I've just got lots of things to try and manage. My brain's not good. There's some interesting feedback to Chelsea from the things. Not saying the Chelsea fixture was that good. Not so sure about the Leicester manager at Chelsea. Chelsea have got so many players who knows who's going to play. All in terms of the starting lineup. I think that was when we're talking about Chelsea. So I'm a bit late coming through to that. That's all. That's all kind of interesting. A fair insight, I think. But I do think there's fixtures for Chelsea. We'll come back to Palace in a second, but there's fixtures for Chelsea. I don't. What's wrong with that? You've got City first up. That's a toughie. Wolves, Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton. You're expecting to get. They're going to expect to start strong, get some points out. I would have thought.
yes, but I think from an FPL perspective, so Palmer, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But would you want a Chelsea defender? Because like you look at that run of fixtures, Wolves, okay, maybe there's a clean sheet there. Crystal Palace, I don't see a clean sheet. Bournemouth, possibly, but then they would score. Well, would you say so? They've got players like Solanke, like they were quite good in attack last year.
Yeah, no, but it's a possible clean sheet. I think
it's a possible one. All right, we'll put it in the possibles.
Again, but as you say, the very valid point is we don't really know how it's going to line up.
And right? I think the problem is with Chelsea is defensively they weren't solid last year.
Yeah.
And so these fixtures, when you look at them, there's a nice block of blue: Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Nottingham Forest before Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester United. Now that block of fixtures between game week 2 and game week 7 on the fixture ticker looks promising. But my issue is actually I think Chelsea have got a good chance of winning those games. But will they clean sheet in them?
Probably and the thing is, this ticker's going to change. This is a very early. This is a first ticker. The ticker will evolve as we see what's happening in pre-season. It will evolve as we see the first few matches in. It's quite a soft ticker at the moment, to be honest. There's a lot of very even matches here. Very few solid blues, very few solid reds. It looks more like the previous government than the current one, doesn't it? Bit of politics. Love a bit of that. So, but yeah, no. So he's talking about Palace fixtures. As you say, even there, they're kind of third, even the top first 6. You're right. They are again Brentford away with some West Ham. Yeah, it's a good start. It's a strong start. You got United and Chelsea in there, but yeah, there's a chance for them to get something. Do you think they're going to get what? How do you feel about Palace assets for clean sheets then? Are you more back to the Palace because we've got Gave talked about? There's Richards. Would you think they were relatively tight?
Yeah,
not as tight as they were under Paul Roy, but then they weren't as attacking under Roy. So what do you think they're going to? It's a good pick. Some good picks there.
Yeah, and they lost Sam Johnston as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Towards the back end of last season, and they played Henderson. They had a bit of disruption to their back line as well last season, but. I would back the Palace defence over the Chelsea one for clean sheets in the opening weeks for sure.
And then finally,
I think Gahey's great.
Well, there's Wharton and the new sort of signing, or both relatively new signings. Kamasa in their midfield, Kamada rather, not Kamasa. And Kamada had a manga intro. I remember that really stood out. It's great. So he looks all action. And he's going to freeze frame the match multiple times and have lots of stuff going on. I don't know anything about him. Do you know anything about him? I'm not. Where's he come from? I should research this. I don't know much about Daichi Kamada. There was some. It's from. I think it was from the Italian league, right?
Yes.
Is it Napoli?
So
maybe?
he's been. Well, he was at Eintracht Frankfurt a while as well, and I think so. He's come in to basically fill the midfield slot that Elise has vacated now that he's toodled off to Bayern Munich. His best goal scoring season.
Last season, not Napoli.
Yeah, when he was at Frankfurt, that was where he had his best scoring season, and in that time he got 9 goals and 6 assists in 25 starts. So it's not like
It's got
Elise
some
level.
decent size there. Frankfurt, Lazio. He's you know, it's interesting.
It's a decent signing, I think. I don't think he'll be Elise style for us in FPL. Like, I don't think we're going to suddenly see like huge hauls from him straight away. But the question you have is, do you need to see that? Because at 5.5, there's real value there.
Yeah.
I think the question is, at 1.5 million less than EZE, you probably want to find the 1.5 to try and get EZE instead. But if I think what people might do, and what I probably would look to do, is go, well, I'll have EZE, because then if Kamada starts the season really well, it's very easy to swap over, and I can just go, well, I'll have him instead because there's significant value there.
Yeah.
Or if we see significant attacking threat during pre-season, the other thing to consider is if he's going to be your fifth midfielder, then that feels nice as well to be priced at 5.5 and know that you've got a starting Palace player there.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep up on the chat. Where has Elise gone? I should know that. I did know that. My brain is trying to keep up. Elise has gone, hasn't he? He's gone Bayern. That's right. He went
Bayern
to
Munich. Yeah,
he went to Vincent Kompany. He's
off to join
weird,
Harry.
I mean, Kompany, fantastic player, great experience, but like that's an odd. Take Burnley down, go and take the German champions elect. Obviously, they weren't last season, but interesting. Maybe they're going to buy a lot of English Premier League players. Maybe that's the connection. I don't know. Nothing much to say about Wharton, I guess. Really, defensive midfielder more. I think I'm not an expert. He's I mean, he's been. That's what he taken to Berlin or to Germany for, isn't it? To cover for Rice if he got injured, for Damien Rice, as we now know him. But
how do you always call him?
That's what I call him. That's what he asked me to call him. I just, we're close.
Because you're besties, aren't you?
We are besties. Right, let's move on from Palace. We've got 3 more sides that have unveiled. Oh, I've turned off the ad. I've got to turn the bloody ad back on. What's going on there?
Well, don't turn the ad off.
Don't turn the ads off. No. Talking of ads, actually, I will say this. I know we've been experimenting with a new ad provider on Fantasy Football Scout, so do stick with us. We have been turning things back a bit. There's been a few glitches. Same on FFC. We are balancing it out. So we were hoping to do it mainly during the Euros, but we should hopefully get it all sorted by the time it all gets very serious. So stick with us. It's not we do listen. When people moan, and people do moan.
Fixing it.
They do moan. They're very vocal, which we like to hear. So that's good.
Mostly me, to be fair. I moan a lot.
No, you shout at me. I have to go and shout at someone else. So there you go. Giuseppe's gone to.
I don't like it when the people are unhappy, so then I come and shout at you.
Yeah,
fix it.
I know. I like when people are unhappy. That's why it gives me joy. Each their own. So talking of joy. Nothing really related to it at all, but I've segued there to Jamie Vardy having a party. Leicester.
Which club are you going to?
I don't know where I was going there. What are you saying? Go on, what are you thinking I'm doing?
With Vardy?
Yeah, I don't know. Generally, I've not said any. I've not dropped any clangs in this show so far, so it's good. Fingers crossed. If you want to hear me being indiscreet, it seems to be the spaces is mainly where it happens. So there you go. But so Jamie Vardy 5.5. That's a bit of a nostalgia pick, isn't it? I kind of want him already. I mean, I've already got.
It's all you can afford in the third forward slot.
I've got 5 other forwards I also want, but it's not. It's nice having Vardy back, but I guess it's how much he's going to play, right? He's not going to be the starter every match, playing every minute striker, is he? He's more of a. He's more of a kind of a cameo player. Is that fair to say, or am I being a bit harsh?
Well, he's old now, isn't he? I say that
we're all getting old.
I say that as somebody that is older than Jamie Vardy. I look, when Jamie Vardy was in the Premier League before, he was like one of those picks that you just had, didn't you? It was a bit like Haaland. You just, Vardy, off I go. Kane, off I go, and that was what you did. But how many goals and how many starts are we expecting realistically to see Jamie Vardy get this season?
He'd have got a lot for Wrexham if he'd gone. But yeah. So he's 37, Jamie Vardy. He's 5.5 million in the game, in case I've not said that yet. Let's have a look at his record from the last couple of years. I'm just looking at some data here. So, yeah, he's... But he's capable. He knows where the goal is, right? That's just, you know.
He is capable and he does know where the goal is. I mean, like I'm looking at his stats from last season. So in the championship in 23-24, he played 35 times.
That's
He
a lot,
got
though. I mean,
yeah,
there's about 700 games in the championship, but he's still playing. No, that's.
so
He got
I mean,
18 goals. He got 18 goals from 35 starts.
and he got 2 assists. No, they weren't 35 starts.
35.
So he got
Right.
appearances. So yeah, so when you look at what he did, so he played like 75, 78, 75, 82, 85, 23, 73, 30, 13, 74, 86. Like he's not playing. I can't see a single. I've got one game where he played the full 90. There's a lot of games where he's played like 14 minutes, 22 minutes. He's clearly coming on as a sub. It seems like every other game.
There's no way you're older than Jamie Vardy. What are you talking about?
I am older than Jamie Vardy.
He's 37. You told me you're 26.
I am older than Jamie Vardy.
Blimey. Well, you're looking good for it, love. So, there we go. Yeah. Sorry, we segued away there a little bit. But
I don't think...
Can I just say, last 2 times he was in the Premier League, 15 goals each time, 18 goals in the Championship. Fair enough. It's a slightly lower league. Maybe there's more goals scored, but it's not. It's a very competitive league.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a player that's going gently into this good night. Even if he comes on and plays 30, 40 minutes, he's got a goal in him. I mean, getting a 15-goal striker in the Premier League, it's going to cost you you're buying them. It's cost you 50, 60 million. It's very hard getting. There's not many players who are going to get anywhere near that playing up front.
Yeah, but so if you look at, I'm just looking at the games that he scored those 18 goals in last season, and they are pretty much there's 1 or 2 goals where he comes off the bench and scores them, and there's a lot that come when he starts.
0.92 goals per 90 last season, says Sam Carr. Thank you. John Tyner says, I'm 41. Are you older than me, Sam? Steady on. Steady on. Come on.
No, I'm not older than you, Tom.
No.
I'm between you and Jamie Vardy.
So am I. I'm between you and Jamie Vardy.
Well, when we were away, you kept telling everyone I was your wife, so...
We had our son with us. It made sense.
But yeah, look, I don't know about Jamie Vardy. I must admit, the price tag is attractive.
Yeah.
It is attractive. It's a nice price point. I am worried for Leicester, though. They've lost their manager, which is part of the reason they came up. They were like running away with the Championship and then just had a nightmare, didn't they? They had that nightmare spell where they came right back down towards the rest of the pack again. I think, as always, with the newly promoted sides, it's where you find a lot of really nice value. And Jamie Vardy does offer value.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to depend on how you structure your team. Can you... Like, if you do this with Vardy, I mean, to be honest, he's going to be just...
Do you prefer Daka at 5? Is it Patterson Daka? It's
Patson.
Is it Patson?
Patson. Yeah, it's Patson.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on what we see in pre-season, doesn't it? I haven't...
It's a good point. Pre-season.
Jamie Vardy will probably be in a fairly large number of teams because he will be the 3rd striker.
Yeah.
Because people are trying to save money.
Yeah.
And because of that, he could be one of those players where then if he doesn't, my always concern with somebody like Vardy is he could get high ownership going into game week 1. And if he then doesn't start every game because he's 37 and he won't be able to start every game, he'll start dropping in price. And then you're stuck because where do you go from him? So I think we just have to, wait and see on him. I think a lot of people will decide it's party time and have Vardy as their 3rd striker, though.
Fair enough. Someone's in a window. We've had quite a lot of good chat going on. Someone's saying it looks like Ed has turned on the adverts. You can't. He's relentless, Ed. He's not even here. But no, I don't know. I think the stream is monetized, so I'm sorry if it's too frequent. We don't even do much with that. That's YouTube just deciding what to do. Obviously, they're lovely, and I love YouTube, and please give us more views and stuff. But yeah, I don't think we've done anything special. Talking about fixtures, though, Leicester, easy start, home to Spurs, away to Fulham, home. So you've got away to Fulham, home to Villa, away to Palace, home to Everton, away to
I
Arsenal.
don't think ads are supposed to be
Quite a
during our
difficult
live
start, as
streams,
it turns
Chris.
out. Spurs,
We'll get Tom to have a
Villa,
look.
Everton, Arsenal, difficult, and Palace. So
Yeah,
and
I'm
even
not sure there's
Fulham
much
are no
partying
mugs,
going on.
I think that's quite. Even though it looks relatively, because there's not enough red on that, we need to get more red onto that table. More claret. It looks a bit kind of benign, but that's quite a tough start. I think that's a tough return to the Premier League. So anyway, so Xhaka and Vardy, you think maybe could fill a gap. What about the rest? Anything there to intrigue you from Cordova-Reid and Carly? My eyes, I can't see. I can't because it's smaller. I can't see. I'm gonna have to look at the flipping other thing. Me and my poor eyes. Is it? Yeah. And Mvididi. Ndidi's left. Now they've got Mvididi. There's a lot of Diddies.
They love a Diddy. They do love a Diddy, man.
He looks like he's on parade or something. He's a very formal photograph, isn't it? It looks like he's doing that chap.
I'm gonna look at it.
Mvididi. It's like he's very kind of. It's a little bit too much.
That's the pose that my kids do when I say smile at the camera, and they go like they stand like to attention, like as if they're about to get told off.
You're not as interested elsewhere, are you?
Honestly, Chris, I look at them and I'm kind of like maybe, but I am genuinely worried about Leicester. Like they've got some financial fair play stuff playing out in the background.
I think they're going to take. Aren't they coming straight into a points deduction?
Well, yeah, and
as
an
Everton fan, we know all about points deductions.
You love
the points deduction.
You love it up at Everton.
You get
the Merseyside Reds.
You get your 2 points back. In, out, say.
How many are you going to lose this season? You going to lose any more?
I don't know. Well, they're very confident internally that due to the completely legitimate dealings with player transfers, that they're okay. We've got a different owner coming in as well, who seems to be a bit more
some money.
Yeah, no, but Mashiri's got loads of money. That's not the problem. It's how you manage it, and the new guy coming in seems to be a bit more savvy. He's got Napoli as well, I think, and he's got a couple of other clubs, so he seems the model. So just for people listening on the podcast,
Mavidi,
let me just say the podcast, and I'll come back to you. Vardy's 5.5, Bobby de Cordova-Reid 5.5 in midfield. Mavidi is 5.5 in midfield. We'll hear about him in a minute. Daka 5 million forward, and Okoli 4 million defender. So if you're listening and you can't see our picture of a little Leicester price reveal, I realised I didn't do that before. So go back to Mvididi, you were saying. Do you know much about Mvididi?
I got 12 goals and 6 assists in 42 starts last season. So
it's like you're reading it off somewhere, isn't it?
Like I read that. That's all I know about him, though. But actually, at that price, we were talking before, weren't we, about how in the midfield you probably need somebody at 5.5. Maybe he's an option. I need to spend some time looking at Leicester in pre-season to work out how they're going to look under Steve Cooper, because I'm not sure.
He's a manager, though. Cooper's a decent manager.
He is a manager, yes.
Not just a Bond villain. He's a decent manager, isn't he? I think so.
He is, and he was good at Forest. But I just think that it's a random. I'm not sure it was the. I don't know how the fit is there.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm trying to say. I like
it's
Steve
a wait
Cooper
and
as
see.
a manager.
Is what you're saying. It's a wait and see.
Very much so. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the club. I'm getting barracked in here. What's this?
What are you doing?
It feels weird saying Chris by his name. I won't have him called by his... What do you call me then, Grandad? So Nuclear Atoms is saying...
El Fozzie, probably
I'm
they're
like
used
his
to calling
grandpa.
you.
El Fozzie's fine. El Fozzie. That's fair.
I can't call you El Fozzie.
You
That feels
like.
weird.
I answer to
No,
anything.
Chris is...
And
I'll call you Chris.
About when the Everton, because I'm an Everton fan, when is a new stadium going to be for Everton? It's going to be... This is the last stadium of the year at Goodison. It will be ready, supposedly, by the end of this year. But they're going to play out the season at Goodison. I think Southampton at home is possibly our last game. I was sort of out there. And they're
Looks
going to have
nice.
events during the day, during the whole day, and then they're going to go to. It looks great. The new stadium is fantastic. So I'm going to try and get up to Goodison a couple of times this year to say goodbye to the old lady. Get suck in as many of those obstructive views as I can.
Can I come with you to watch Spurs play there?
There's a hilarious. We should. Yeah, we're going to do with the swap, aren't we? I have been to see White Hart Lane to see Everton get beaten there. I've seen Everton get beaten at every London stadium. But Ed went to see Newcastle get beat there, which is good. And he sent this photo And you could basically see the bit of the pitch you could see between a banner and a wall and a post and like heads was like a postage stamp. It was fantastic. I have to find it and post it. I think Goodison, because it's a real old stadium, is one of the worst. I even went in the director's box once, and even then you've got obstructive views. So it's
really in the director's box.
I almost knocked Bill Kenwright down the stairs. I wasn't related to his demise. I was taking a photo. I was there because friends and stuff. I was sat behind. It was Everton Watford. I was sat behind Miles, who runs Sports Interactive Football Manager, who's a Watford fan. I know him quite well. And he was Watford winning the first. So I was giving it all this. And then anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm name dropping now. But then I thought I'd get a photo of myself. In front of sort of just before the game. So I turn round and I bump into this old guy, and he's sort of like going like this, and I sort of grab over and I turn, oh, it's Bill, all right, Bill. But yeah, he was fine after that for several years. I've not been implicated in anything that happened to him afterwards, so that's fine.
Did you ask him for a selfie? Because you love asking people for a selfie.
Do you know what? I didn't ask him for a selfie. I should have done.
You should have.
I think the fact it almost knocked him downstairs probably ruined the moment. The selfie I didn't get. The ones I'm most annoyed about is the Ted Lasso chap, Roy Kent.
Well, when we were out,
we were there. We saw him, and he was talking to people. And I love Ted Lasso so much. And Roy Kent was there. We were in BAFTA, don't you know, hobnobbing, and he was there just having meetings because he's now like a global megastar. He's in the Marvel movies, isn't he? He's Hercules.
Yeah, he's in Marvel.
And he was there, and I'm just such a massive fan of that show. And
you were proper like starstruck.
I'm a frustrated script writer myself, and I saw him there. I thought, oh, this is great. And then I thought I'll just wait until a lull. Well, he's not been in a meeting, and I'll go over and see him. And instead I got absorbed talking to you and Az. That's it. Ruined it for me. And I turned around and he's gone. Not that you're not as good as
name a better pair of people to be talking to.
No,
I'll wait.
It was good. Gianni's talking of celebrities. Not Ian Wright.
Gianni's in the chat.
Not Ian Wright. Don't get.
All right, enough of that.
Sam and her celebrity friends in Berlin. It was good. You wouldn't even let us shout at Jules Laurent on the touchline.
I'm not going to shout at him when he's live
I was shouting.
on Australian TV.
Give us a wave.
But it's live on Australian TV and you're shouting.
It's Australian TV, isn't it? How good? How
God.
professional can it be? Anyway, Gianni is in there.
Bringing some sanity.
Yeah, talking. We saw Italy, Spain. They were dreadful, Italy.
That's not why Gianni's come here, just for us to bash
It's come for abuse. That's what he's come for.
You know what we should do? We should move on to the next team.
We should move to the next team. So we've got to stop us at some point. It's probably at 2 hours, isn't it? So let's get rid of that. This
is not going to be another one of your 7-hour streams.
There you go, 7-hour streams. And a reminder, 40% discount. It might change on Monday. We said we extend it until
England come
home. So
but if we win, Chris,
we'll have to
we'll have to keep it on.
But it's a great deal. We put loads more. We're giving loads more content. There's new tools and stuff coming. I haven't talked about yet. There's a whole new load of data which we will find out next week, which no one else has got. So it's been fantastic. Get it now, but while you still can, you can still get the Euro. We've got all the Euros as well, of course. We've got Euros going. We've got all the international tournaments, all the friendlies. We've got all the Premier League going back, 12 years or something. We might have some other tournaments as well. Who knows? Moving on. West Ham. The Hammers. Sorry, I've got to press the button. It doesn't appear. Wait, is that West Ham? It is West Ham. Thank God. One of these has bound me wrong, so this has not been this one. So the Hammers. I'll just do this for the podcast as listening. We have Kudus, a midfielder, 6.5. Ward-Prowse, also 6.5. Antonio up front, 5.5. Kilman, 4.5. And Areola, 4.5. Interesting. Again, 4.5s. As you say, you mentioned earlier, goalkeeper and defence. So who's catching your eye there from the West Ham lineup?
I mean, we said yesterday, didn't we, that West Ham don't leave London until November. So from that perspective, they should be teams that we're looking at. But they do have a pretty they're very middling of the fixture ticker. Yeah,
they're home to Villa, away to Palace, home to City, away to Fulham, home to Chelsea, and away to Brentford, and they're going to Ipswich, which is pretty close. But,
and then Spurs.
And then Spurs, yeah.
Some
easy matches. But no, I mean...
But it's a real mixed bag, that is. So I
Villa
think
and City... I think Villa City are giving everyone reds. I think Villa are going to be a very difficult team to. I mean, like
I disagree with the way that Villa are rated here. I think Villa should be rated higher on the ticker than they have been, and so I think that Villa fixture is difficult to start the season.
Yeah.
Even though they're at home, I still think that's a difficult.
And if Chelsea hit the ground running, that's going to be a nightmare as well. I just think. I don't know. I think we'll do we do this amazing pre-season guide that's led by Neil, who's the best between Neil and Paul. For fantasy writers, there's no one can touch. I mean, they'll take the Pep challenge against anyone. Obviously, presenters, we have the royalty here, but for content creators, in terms of writers, they're best. And Neil does this incredible pre-season guide, minutes tracker, everything. It is the best. If you don't come to Scout for anything else, get the pre-season guide. You get all the data as well if you remember and stuff. But the pre-season guide is just the best. And obviously, that's all you've got to go on, right? The minutes tracker is so good, even the Premier League take it and use it and link to us and stuff. So do come and check that out. But anyway, West Ham, tough fixtures. What does that mean? We ignore them?
No, because actually they're mixed fixtures. They're not tough. Like, some of them are horrible, but then there's some nice ones in between. And I think when you look at it, there's some decent options there. Like, I actually think that people will look at Areola again because he was decent for us in FPL last season. You've got to pay 4.5 now though, so you have got to pay a little bit more.
Flecker at 4.5 as well. So yeah, I guess you start looking at those rotations.
You start thinking about your pairings.
You said that the Southampton keeper rotated well with Flecker. I don't know if he wrote.
Yeah. So I think you have to look at it. Max Kilman obviously reunites with his old manager from his Wolves
That's an
days.
interesting pull, isn't it, Max Kilman?
I really like Max Kilman.
And he does. He does chip in. I mean, I've owned Kilman before. He does chip in with some. A little bit of a goal threat now and again. He's not.
He's a really good threat from set pieces, and we know that West Ham have a really good set piece taker in James Ward-Prowse. So it might actually be a match made in heaven to see Max Kilman and James Ward-Prowse playing in the same team, because we know one thing for sure, it's that James Ward-Prowse delivers an absolutely exceptional set piece, and Max Kilman is really good at converting those. So I really like the Max Kilman signing. I think at 4.5 he's an interesting one. And it goes back to what I was saying before, doesn't it, about having those two 4.5s and working out which one it is that you go for, and therefore how you're going to rotate them around.
I think it's going to be really hard. I mean, we've seen picks at 5. We saw earlier, God, my brain's already forgotten, Martinez at 5. There was another keeper at 5 yesterday. I think Pickford. It's going to be hard. There was 5 keepers, I think.
Pickford and Leno.
I think it's going to be hard to have 5 goalkeepers with
Agreed.
The prices are coming out.
You're going to have to sell Pickford.
I'm going for the 2.5 goalkeeper. It's half a goalkeeper. But
That's
no,
me.
we'll talk Everton time. But I think Everton actually have. I think Pickford. If Dyche stays, and we keep Branthwaite. I mean, we've got a decent defence. I think Pickford's not a bad. He'll get saves, save points as well. I think but at 5, how you fit that in around everything else is going to be a challenge, right? So yeah, I don't know. Gianni's coming in saying 2 4.5s this season, and then have the dilemma each week about who to pick. That's true.
See, Gianni knows.
Yeah, he does. Gianni knows. He does this, and Gianni loves a pre-season guide, so the minutes tracker is so useful. Thanks for that. And he's going for Bowen at 7.5, which we didn't. Bowen was revealed yesterday. Jared Bowen 7.5. You got very excited about that.
I still am. Yeah, but kudos at 6.5 has kind of
kudos. Yeah, kudos to the Premier League for picking kudos.
He has pricked my interest, to be honest, because it's a million less than Bowen. Yeah, so he's coming in at 6.5 rather than 7.5.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at him last time around, first season in the Premier League, they're not the best seasons, are they?
Would you go kudos? You've got Nkunku. You've obviously got Ward-Prowse here as well, who's definitely a set piece. Is that because Kudus is, you think from a goal threat perspective, he's going to be much more involved? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. I mean, and he didn't make a start until game week 10 last season.
Yeah.
And then when he did start making starts, he actually outscored Bowen in terms of FPL points in that period. And I just think that when he was consistently playing, he is such a great talent. He's a really, really good player. And I don't know, 8 goals and 9 assists in your first Premier League season, for me, that's got real signs of momentum. And he was playing under David Moyes, who isn't known for his hugely attacking.
Very expressive, outgoing manager. Very correct. Likes to You know, very very much in the Southgate mould.
Yeah, I think he's
What's
a
he
really...
going to win? This Southgate fellow, what overrated, rubbish.
Who knows? He's going to get a knighthood. I think for me, if you're struggling with budget, and even if you're not, to be honest, I think you can save £1 million here.
But that's what I'm saying. Are you going that over Nkunku, over James Ward-Prowse, over Solly March, over Leon Bailey, also 6.5?
I think the only one that I'd
Neto,
put above Kudos is but I think all of those are below Kudos in my opinion. It's only Nkunku that I might put higher, but then Nkunku, it's all about the injuries.
Gianni's saying about heat maps. I was just looking at Kudus' heat map. We're talking. He's obviously, you know, down the flank, but you know, yeah, he's very much more distributed than I thought. Unlike Salah, who's largely in the box as a midfielder.
No, here we go.
Excuse me,
again.
FPL. I've got a heat map I want to show you.
Here he goes again. The man who really wants Salah to be a forward.
Ridiculous. He's not a midfielder. But
he's
yeah,
Kudus
definitely is a midfielder. He's kind of, you know, he's down that front. But yeah, it's not as much not as spending as much time in the box as you'd like. But yeah, how many shots does he have? I'm looking at that's the team's fantasy stats. I'm not looking at the player. God, I'll have a look through that in a minute. But yeah, 534 minutes. Yeah, and he got it wasn't an incredible season, but you're saying he didn't play as much, right?
It was his first season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And he only started a game in game week 10. So, you know, I think there's plenty of potential there.
Okay, so Kudus interesting. Ward-Prowse I prefer myself if I'm going to take a punt in that price. Because you know he's going to get, you know, some...
And he's got Max Kilman to supply.
Goals, definitely going to get assists from the corners. Antonio, 5.5. If he plays...
VARDY.
Not enough. It's exactly. That's a very good. That's it, isn't it? That's a comparison. You know, he's going to probably play about the same number of minutes, right? So yeah, fair enough. And then Kilman, you've said about an Areola, the 5.5. So you've gone into that. Okay.
Yep.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the final team that revealed today, which is Wolverhampton Wanderers. And just to go for the prices, we had Cunha at forward at 6.5. Strand Larson, a forward at 5.5. I'm going to need to be explained about him. Sarabia midfield 5.5. Altnari 4.5, and Dawson 4.5. Dawson looks very angry in that picture, doesn't he? So
he does. I didn't notice
he looks
that.
furious. He's absolutely incensed by something.
Probably the fact that Kilman's left. That's probably what he's so
what?
angry
You
about.
told me I could go. No, he's not.
Sold Kilman. What are you doing?
But defensively, Wolves are decent. So let's talk about defenders first. I mean, Wolves have been, you know, they've been quite tight historically. It was always you know, do you think Kilman Goins changing that? Dawson out Nori, they're good. Nori was a sort of a bit of a
Nori's
differential punt, wasn't he, last year?
Nori's the one for me here. If you think, but remember, last season Nori basically played up front a lot of the time, and that will skew his stats in the underlying data. But he was a great asset last year, and I was a little bit surprised to see him at 4.5. Like, had they priced him at 5, I think I would have gone, yeah, okay, fair enough. But obviously, I'll take the 4.5 pricing of him. Down the left-hand side of that Wolves team, he was great, and he got a couple of goals. He got 3 assists, I think, from memory. Like, he was a really nice asset. And again, it goes back to what we were saying, what Gianni mentioned a minute ago. It's about the rotating. Yeah. When you're looking at the 4.5s, I think there are so many good 4.5 defenders this season that you could arguably have a couple of them to start the season because they rotate nicely up until sort of game week 5.
I'm thinking of getting a few 4.5s.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to get all 4.5s and a 4. Goodness only knows.
I can't have Salah, Palmer, and Haaland.
Let's just hope you don't want to have one of the because we haven't had any big defender prices yet. Like, we've not had
we haven't seen the Arsenal back line, no.
Not seen the Arsenal back line. We've not seen Trent or the Liverpool back line yet. We've not seen the likes of
I'm all right, thanks. Don't need a Liverpool back line, thanks.
We've not seen the likes of Pedro Porro or Udogie. We've not seen those big defenders yet that everyone had last season. So where on earth they put the Arsenal defence and Trent, you could have massive problems, because I honestly think that you have to have at least one expensive defender. You're not going to be able to go in with you can go in with all the 4.5s, but when Arsenal guaranteed start clean sheet every week, last season, I had one of them for ages. I they've just had Saliba for a lot of time.
Have we seen
And
any
every
expensive?
week,
We haven't seen. What was it?
no, we've not seen
James
any
at 5.
yet.
We've not seen any
That's
5
it,
and a half or
really.
6s, have we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The John Tyner's in the chat saying Trippier. We've not seen Trippier's price either.
No.
Like Trippier, Trent, Saliba,
I think they play him on
Gabriel,
the left.
White.
He's really good in the left back.
He's really good there. It's, in fact, play Saka there instead. Like Pedro Porro, all of those guys you would expect to be up. I mean, they've got to be at least 5.5, surely. If Reece James is 5, they've got to be more, actually, surely.
Nori only got, it was only 2 goals, 3 assists and 3 clean sheets last year. So that the memory of Wolverhampton's legendary clean sheet thing is maybe a little bit of a...
he was good because he played up front a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's why we all liked him. I think there is a lot of value at 4.5. We're going to need, when the bigger defender prices come out, to work out how far you take that. Do you just have one expensive defender and then 4 that sit at 4.5 to 4? And maybe that is how you balance your teams this year. That's maybe the compromise that you have. Yeah. But it's good. But if that's the compromise you're going to have, then picking one from Trent, Robertson, Trippier, Saliba, Gabriel, White, I forget who the other Arsenal defender I've missed out there is, but Pedro Porro. If you're going to have to pick one from like 10...
Pedro Porro doesn't play for Arsenal. So.
No, he plays for Spurs, but he's going to be he's got to be in the same sort of... He's got to be more expensive than Reece James.
Has he?
He's got to be.
Really?
Well, I mean, he plays all the time and he doesn't get injured like Reece James.
He's quite attack-minded, that's fair enough. Yeah, no, it's a good point. So, and anybody else here? So, Cunha 6.5 is going to be competitive. We've already seen a couple of 5.5s we might fancy, so that's going to be tough. Strand Larson.
But wouldn't you rather play an extra 0.5 for Richarlison over Cunha?
What's that?
Wouldn't you rather play the extra 0.5 for Richarlison over Cunha?
I mean, I think I'm going to have a couple of. I think there's enough options already that maybe.
I don't think I have any
last season. He ended up with 12 goals and
what are their fixtures like?
Actually. So
their fixtures are terrible.
Bad. What's that?
Their fixtures: Arsenal, Chelsea,
easy.
Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Liverpool. You're not going any
fixture tickets.
Brentford, Manchester City. You're not going anywhere near Wolves till at least game week 9.
It's interesting. I think the ticket will evolve because it does look a little bit kind. It's saying that Wolves home to Chelsea is not a dark blue, but it's a kind of middling blue. And Newcastle home to Newcastle. I know Newcastle don't travel well. Maybe Chelsea as well, I suppose.
You can go to Wolves from game week 9. Brentford, Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth.
You're not
Everton.
wanting to catch Villa, Liverpool, City.
That's when you got to get past the Man City game and then you invest in Wolves. And the good thing is at that point, you're 8 game weeks in, and being 8 game weeks in means you've got plenty of time to look at them. If Ain't Nori's playing as a forward again, then that's where you go.
Fair enough. So, and Strand Larson, we know anything about him? I don't know anything about him. Is he? Where's he from? The Nordics, I suspect. But what's his? I don't know him, so I didn't even know they'd signed him. He wasn't playing last season, was he? Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it's not Strand. It is Strand Larson, isn't it? I don't know him, so that's a new one for me. So if anybody knows anything about him, let us know.
He's new. He's new.
He's new.
I'm not
even finding him in my little searches here. So that's just
he's new. He's Norwegian.
Jorgen Strand. Yeah, there's no decent forwards come out of Norway. Rubbish, all of them, aren't they? You can't name you one good Norwegian forward. So no. Okay, that'll be interesting. Interesting to.
He was. So yeah.
But at 5.5, you've got, when you've already had VARDY and co, then you're not really going to be launching into that. So that's kind of the. There's the prices we've kind of had so far. Reminder that we'll have a little final chat for a few minutes and then we'll probably wrap it up. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. Reminder again that if you listen to the stream, please do please like and subscribe this. I'm not very good at video, am I? Like and subscribe to the video. We like likes and we like subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. There's going to be loads of good video. And obviously, do like us. And if you're on the podcast, listen to the podcast, please do turn on auto download and rate us if you can. If you don't want to rate us, I mean, preferably if you've given us 5 stars or more, rate us. If you're thinking not so much, rate someone else's podcast. Show you. It's like tactical podcast voting. If you've not enjoyed it, go and vote for someone else. Don't know what that
mine.
means.
Like the FPL family one, go and rate mine.
Yeah, that's fine. FPL fan very good as well. Or the official, the UEFA, not official.
The official one.
The UEFA Fantasy Podcast, which Ed does. That's how he describes it, which is very good. Which is a sister podcast. All the Wire, which is great as well. One of our chums, part of our squad, or Harry has got audio as well, and
Gianni, who's been in the chat today.
Is Gianni doing it? Yeah, he's got audio. That's true, and. Focal, of course. God, there's loads of them. And the FPL General, what am I saying? Also in our stable. Got loads of great podcasts. Ours first, though. But, if you've got time, go to this. And FPL Family, of course, as you've already said. But I would. So, is there anything else? Obviously, we had 20 prices now. So, how many prices have we got? I'm going to see if I can...
We've got quite a few today, because every club has done... How many clubs have we had today? 7? 7 clubs doing 5 reveals each.
So, we've got 55 players revealed. So, this is the little... It's quite simple, but this is going to build every day until the game launches. So if you want to get access to this and poke around and see who's priced what and start thinking about your teams, we do these nice little things while we're waiting for games to happen. So this is available to anybody that signs up as a free member. There's an article up on the site on Scout at the moment. You can sign up and you get access to this and you can poke around. But yeah, so far this is what we've seen, and this is quite interesting. If you look at this, I probably need to zoom in a little bit. I don't know if I had to do that, so people can't see anything. My eyesight's terrible. If I go in a little bit, let's say 150, that's a bit better, isn't it? So you can see, obviously, Haaland is looking very, very isolated there at the moment, isn't he? We'll see where the likes of Saka and Son come in. I said Son 9 million. I'm beginning to change my mind on that, Sam. I'm beginning to think... No, Saka I said 9 million, yeah. Son, I think they might be higher than that. So, yeah. Do you think anybody's going to be between Salah and Haaland?
Yeah, surely.
Who?
Oh, between Salah and Haaland?
Yeah.
No, I don't think anyone will be between Salah and Haaland.
Do you think Salah's too cheap?
No.
Do you think Haaland's too expensive? It's quite a gap, though. It's a massive gap between... You go 15, 12 and a half, 10 and a half. Between Palmer and Salah, right? You're expecting Saka and Son in that area, right? Saka and Son will be more expensive than Palmer, or with similar price?
Yeah. In there.
KDB,
I reckon.
In there as well?
If you don't leave to go to Saudi. But yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
I think Haaland is... Do I think Haaland is too expensive? Yes. Do I like the fact that he's too expensive? From my team, no, because I wanted to have him. But from a game perspective, I think it's a great thing. Because now, that 92% ownership that we had on him... It's not going to be anywhere near that. It's going to be down probably in the 70, 60%.
Yeah.
People will still do it, but that means you're going to get the likes of Salah, Son, Saka, Palmer that will start becoming more differential because their ownership won't be at 60, 70%. If you've got Haaland, you're going to have to drop some of them. So their ownership drops to them maybe like 40, 50%. So I like the fact that Haaland is up there because it's making you make decisions about your team. So if you're thinking about just creating a team, then yes, he's too expensive. If you're thinking about the benefit that has on the game, then he's not too expensive because actually he's making the game really exciting because you're having to make choices. And every week, like, as a content creator, I already can see that in the coming weeks, I'm not going to have players that are going to go off and I'm going to be sat there going, how do I get them in? Or I'm going to have to sell that other player that I really want to keep and I don't want to sell them. And it's going to make for some really, really engaging and interesting content. And it's going to make for some fascinating mini league battles as well.
As long as it keeps the content creators busy. I mean, that's as long as it gives us reason to buy memberships and check out articles and listen to podcasts. But it is interesting. Like, obviously, there's a lot of players to come. How many players actually are there? I should know this in the game. How many players? I guess you've got like 20 clubs, 25 a club, say. So it must be getting on for 25 clubs. Is that too many? 20 a club?
No, there's more than
500. It must be about 500 players at least. I should know. It's more than 600, isn't it? Actually, because some clubs have a lot of players in the game.
Like Chelsea, Chelsea got 600 players of their own.
Exactly. So. But interesting, the pattern's already coming out. We're going to have more, I presume, more team reveals, more price reveals the last few days. But Watkins is staying out to me at the moment. I'm just looking at him going, yeah, doing that alongside Haaland. I do want Haaland, but I am already beginning to suspect that that's not going to work when they actually put into a team. I think the Haaland Salah decisions.
There's a choice.
It's going to be a decision. And looking at fixtures, looking at the early fixtures, which we were earlier, where is fixture now?
I think you can do it. I think you can. So far, looking at the prices, I think you can do it.
Liverpool's second top for fixture for the first 6. It got Ipswich away, Brentford, United. Okay, that's going to be chat, but United early on might be terrible. Forest and Bournemouth at home, Wolves away. I mean, that if you're not getting Salah for the start of the game, assuming he's still here, I kind of feel you are doing it wrong. Surely, I'd be very hard to make a case not to have Salah in that opening period, wouldn't it?
I think you can build with what we've seen so far. I think you can build a team that has all 3 of those top most expensive players. I think you can get one that has Haaland and Salah and Cole. I think it will just mean that your defence will be 4.5s and 4. You'll have 2 rotating 4.5 goalies. And I think you can probably have one of those kind of 7.5, 8.5 midfielders. But I think the sacrifice you're going to have to make will be the Sakas, the Sons, the Fodens, the KDBs.
I haven't even thought about Foden, flipping heck, player of the year and everything. Oh, it's truth, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players still to come. I mean, we are going to find out more players next couple of days. Have they announced what they're doing? Have they announced what's happening tomorrow? Is it more teams? Is it?
I don't think I've seen a tweet. Let's have a look.
They tend to do it like late at night, first thing, until at the end of the day. They tend to give us a bit of a tweak. So you probably get a bit half an hour's notice before something happens. But they usually do, they usually do a few days of this. We've only had 7 clubs, so you'd suspect 2 more days of this. I don't think with the match on Sunday, I expect that might be a bit different. I don't know, but I can imagine thoughts will be elsewhere. So maybe it'll be Monday it starts again. I don't know. Anywho, there'll be more to come. But yeah, so far I agree with what's been said now. I've got Thomas Thornton who said FF have done really well making it harder. They're a bit harsh. The sheep were ruining it all by having exactly the same team. It's actually quite sad to copy creators so you can win. I don't think creators think that at all. I think they go, great, copy me, it's fine. Sign up to my Patreon while you're there. But yeah, no, I think it is right, Thomas. Your underlying point is absolutely spot on. I think the joy of this game is not copying a team and just... It's not even about the score in a game week so much. The joy of this game for me has always been about finding the research, finding something a bit different. I think in a way, we're obviously, the old man. I'm certainly the old man. This site, launched by the GOAT himself, Mark Southerns, and then joined by me in the background, doing shady business deals. Not that shady. But we started a lot of this, and there are other sites as well. But now there's so much content out there. Obviously, some great creators, as we mentioned, the kind of Focals, Harry, Gianni, The Wire, Smart Black Box, of course, FPL Family, of course, who regularly feature on our spaces a lot as well. Lee pops in, but there's so much content out there. There's so much advice, and I agree that following. It is a bit sad. It's also these AI solvers. We have our own Rate My Team. We've got a Rate My Plan thing coming. We've got some tools like that. But pressing a button to get the best team and then just putting that in kind of isn't what the point of the game is for me. Maybe I am old, so maybe I'm old. But it is just like the whole point is the joy of unearthing that 4.5 defender that no one's quite picked on yet. And just thinking about those fixture switches. I think I was really happy when the people that really thought about it and didn't do the free hit early could kind of really score. That kind of differential thinking and going against the obvious is what the joy of the game is for me. So I don't know. Call me idealistic, but that's what it is. I'm not very good at this, obviously. I've only had one 5k finish, and after that I've had quite a few in the top 50, but usually that's where I'm always trying to aim for top 10k, but very rarely hitting it. But yeah, I'm not on Sam's level. But there are, we've obviously, fortunately, within Scout Towers, we have quite a lot of people with very good finishes. We've got some, various winners and people with incredible records that come in. Even now and again, Fabio pops in. And of course, Mr. Southerns himself. Anything else we need to talk about today before we wrap up? I promised we'd get it done in half an hour. Or 1.5 hours is what I said. No, so... Any other questions in that we haven't answered in the thing there?
Tom's going to go mad when he gets back from the cricket. He said to us,
He
just
said,
do an
make sure you do it
hour.
in 40 minutes, he said.
He said, don't go over an hour, whatever
Did he
you
say
do.
that?
Yeah.
I don't think he said
He
that.
said, he said,
He
I
said,
don't want anything.
keep talking till I come back from the cricket and I'll join
did
you. I'm
not.
sure that's what he said.
He said, I don't want anything over an hour, you two. An hour and a half later.
Yeah. Okay. Jesus,
We'll
make
be
a
back.
point. Flipping heck, Dr. David, that's a bit harsh. It's Friday night, I'm having a beer. Give it a sense. You can. Anyone, if anyone wants to say anything else, you've got about 30 seconds. Then otherwise, we're going to go. As I say, do check out the members area. I've been poking about in it. What was I looking at earlier? I was looking at some Wolverhampton forwards earlier. There's loads of cool stuff in there, and the season ticket you can mess around with and stuff.
They're having a go at you now again for saying it took you half an hour to just talk about the joy of FPL. We could have done it in an hour. You're getting a lot of grief.
Anyway, I will remind you of the premium offer we have available. So go in. If you like this or if you don't like this, if you want me to stop talking so much, go and buy a membership. And if I get enough memberships, I'm going to stop talking. How's that? No, but please do support us. We do put a lot of time into this, and we've got an ever-growing team. And as I say, we have been hopefully number one resource for the Euros. We intend to be the number one resource for FPL yet again, and we hopefully for UEFA as well with ourselves and our sister site FFC. And there's other games coming this year as well. They've got the EFL is coming. It's got a new game coming out. That's quite fascinating. I think we'll probably be having a tickle on that. So if you're going to want to play that this year, we were planning to do quite a bit on Sky, but unfortunately, if you've not already heard, sadly Sky have withdrawn this year. So I don't know if that's ever going to come back or not. What our young Tom, our boy Tom. We're very proud of him, aren't we, Sammy? A good goal record, and he did scoop some money on the Sky bet. So, but that's gone. So yeah, good time to look for another game. So maybe EFL will be one you want to look at. I think that's it. On that note, Grandpa let Grandpa have his fun. Sorry. On that note, I'm not even 50. I'm mid-40s basically, mid-40s. Unbelievable. You people. On that note, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us. Please do like and subscribe if you've not already. We'll be back in the next few days with more updates. We're going to be doing some spaces as well in between, so we don't overrun you with video content. And but yeah, plenty more content. And obviously the site's going to be incredible, so go and check that out first. Thank you very much, Sam, for joining me. Have a nice evening. And obviously best of luck to the England.
Come on, England.
Yeah,
bring it home.
Up the England. It's fine. I don't mind. I can take it. Up the England. We are a big match Sunday night. So yeah, you've got the. If you're still playing your Euros game, and I am, are we doing a Euro stream, Sam? I don't know if we are. We should do, shouldn't we?
We are. We'll come. We'll go live on Sunday night after the game.
We'll do a post Sunday. We've been doing it. We've been covering the whole thing. We even went out to the games. It was great, all of them, a couple of them. But yeah, we'll be doing that. So you can still, if you're still picking your team, there's data for the Euros in there. But this is the last chance. I managed to miss the round picking my team, so I'm just going to play, but
lunatic.
I'm playing a fantasy thing. I'm really going to stop now because I'm going to get into trouble. So thank you very much. Have a lovely evening, whatever you're up to. Have a lovely weekend, and yes, see you again soon. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
I think that's ended. Didn't even get to an hour and a half.